Look cute in that shirt.
Thanks. It's a fun color. Got dog hair all over it. What? Not dog hair.
All right, guys. Welcome to today's talk about
Puppies.
Puppies. It is spring/summertime, and puppies are on everybody's brains, especially with everything that's going on right now. People have extra time, and they're excited about the opportunity to have a puppy and bring a puppy into their home. Now,
but specifically, we want to talk about littermates.
Littermates.
People often contact us or reach out to us with questions about littermates.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. Hence why we're talking about it.
Yeah. So things that get brought up a lot, questions a lot, are things that we think would be really great topics to have a conversation about. So people bring up littermates to us, A, because they're interested in getting littermates from us out of our litters. And
yes.
B, people contact us because they have already got littermates and might be struggling with said littermates.
Mm-hmm.
So today we want to talk a little bit about why people want to get littermates, and then we're going to talk about why we don't want people to have littermates.
Yeah. So the first things are that we've heard quite a bit is I've had littermates in the past, and it worked out great for us. We absolutely love being able to raise the dogs together and all of these things. Now, I would guess that if people are truly being honest, they don't really remember what happened 10, 12, 14 years ago,
And it's easy for time to fade those memories and maybe let you forget about how big of a pain in the butt having two puppies at the same time really was.
Yeah, because let's face it, puppies take a lot of time.
Puppies are a lot of work.
A lot of time.
And we raise a lot of puppies, so we know.
And we don't want littermates. It's a horrible idea, because what ends up happening is you have to dedicate time, because we talk about doing our meal training sessions and everything else. And when you do those, or you do separate sessions throughout the day, one puppy needs to be working and one puppy needs to not be working. So then you have puppy A that's ready to eat and puppy B that's ready to eat, and one of them has to wait. They don't get to eat at the same time, which that isn't as big of a deal when you have adult dogs if the adult dog has to wait. But definitely it causes a lot of, frustration for the puppy itself. They're ready to eat.
For sure. And I think that we can go back and talk a little bit about more why people want to get puppies. So they've had them before in the past and it's worked out great. Another reason people think that getting littermates would be a good idea is, hey, well, they've been, raised together through 8 weeks. Why not get them and let them continue to be, friends and littermates for forever?
Well, they'll have a buddy that they'll be able to entertain themselves, and they'll have so much fun.
And a companion, and they can play together, and they'll help keep each other occupied. And that's definitely not the mentality that we want to have about raising puppies, that, we'll just let them entertain each other and entertain themselves, because that's going to end up creating
ultimately
some development issues. Yeah. And then I would say the last thing why sometimes people reach out to us about littermates or asking should they get littermates and things like that is other breeders recommend them getting littermates because they may have a couple puppies from the same litter left over, and they've got somebody interested in a puppy, and they might not have enough interest in the next puppy. So why not kill two birds with one stone and get two puppies out of their litter spoken for with one person that they feel is a good home for that puppy? And that's definitely not something that we do with our litters, for sure.
This week on Ethan's, what do we call it?
Brutally honest moment.
Brutally honest moment. If somebody is trying to get you to buy two puppies because it'll be a good idea, I'm not going even with probably, it's a sales pitch because they have two puppies left to sell, or two is better than having one here. If they're selling you two, they're getting the puppy sold, so on and so forth. It is, in my opinion, unethical and 100% a sales pitch.
Yes. So we've talked about a couple reasons why people might think getting littermates would be a good idea. Now let's talk about all the reasons it's a bad idea.
All the reasons. Okay, so I kind of I got a little ahead of myself there, and I started talking about the dogs entertaining themselves, basically. I would say that is the number one thing that we hear, that puppies would love to entertain themselves, play with themselves. And it's probably the biggest problem with having littermates is if those dogs get the opportunity to spend so much time together, they're going to ultimately end up bonding more with each other than with the family, on top of starting to develop their own pack roles. They end up in a position where the one dog is going to become more dominant than the other, and one dog more submissive than the other. And usually in that situation and environment, it's going to be extremes. You're going to have a very dominant and very submissive puppy. Or if you have two type A dogs, they're going to end up fighting to the point where, it's constant battle. I mean, even to the extent of years into this process, you'll just especially boys, that testosterone kicks in or something like that. But I've even heard of, sisters that are trying to kill each other. I mean, it's
over little things because they both have a more dominant personality and they've been, living and raised together so long. And that's how dogs try and communicate with each other. And it's even more compounded with littermates because they've never had to interact.
The exact same age.
Yep. With other dogs.
Yep. They're the exact same age and they're the exact same place in their life. So they feel like they're equals in the pack. And when they're equals, they have the opportunity to challenge each other to get on the hierarchy of things. And
so you constantly have that battle for alpha dog position.
Yep.
Or like Ethan mentioned, you have the alpha dog and the, submissive dog. And that causes problems in and of itself, because then when that alpha dog is introduced to any other new environment, whether they're going off for training or going to the dog park or going hunting with other dogs, and they have been top dog their whole life and they interact with new dogs, well, they try and exert that dominance onto those dogs, and those dogs might not be having it. So then you have some potential butting head issues in those environments as well.
100%.
And then if you have the submissive dog, those dogs typically lack confidence and they need an environment that confidence can be boosted. So training might not honestly be a bad situation for that to happen, so that they can come into a new environment where they're not always low man on the totem pole and they get to build that confidence up, so that maybe when they come back into that littermate situation, they can have a little bit better idea of who they truly are as an individual dog.
Exactly. And I would say that our training program is really good for both of them. But we have set up different packs and those groups of dogs to go out and recess, and they have to interact properly. And we move dogs around until they find good groups and everything else. But ultimately, that can really help to properly socialize a dog, whether that's bring them down or bring them up into that balance point.
Into the proper place of the pack, which is on an even keel with every other dog. Exactly. And below us.
Exactly. That's where they need to be. So we talked about them entertaining themselves, and that's not a good idea. The next is going to be training itself.
And I want to just throw in for entertaining each other.
Sure.
It always seems like if you've got one dog or one puppy, they're content and they're chewing on their chew toy and they're being pretty well behaved. You add a second puppy to that dynamic and the energy level comes up.
Always.
And then it just turns into a free-for-all. Let's chew up everything and let's run amok and let's just have craziness be a part of our everyday. So that also can be a huge issue of they're entertaining themselves, and when they're bored, that boredom is going to feed off of each other, and they're going to just become even more destructive than a single puppy with boredom could be.
100%. Everything, there's a huge jump between one dog and two dogs. There's not a whole lot of jump between two dogs. Let me strike that, reverse it. Okay, so this is the thing to say.
Redo.
There is not a lot of difference between one dog and two dogs if they are introduced to the newness at the right time. So you have an older dog, somewhere 2+, and then you introduce a new puppy. That's not a big change. They're going to get along well. The puppy's going to follow the adult dog around and learn life and the house and everything. Then when you add that third dog, it completely changes that dynamic, and you are approaching pack
mentality.
Yep. You have 3 dogs, and if they spend a lot of time out together, you've got a pack.
And if you've got 3 dogs, you might as well have 10.
Yeah, you're at pack stage. I mean, it doesn't really matter other than how much food goes in and out at that point. That's just it. So we've talked about them entertaining themselves, and that's not a good idea. Now, another thing that's going to happen is just the sheer time commitment to training. If you're doing it right with one dog, you need to be having separate sessions for each, and it gets difficult enough to set those times aside for one puppy, let alone multiple puppies. And then you just end up running out of, we don't have time. The dog obviously needs more because he's whining or crying or he's ready for more stuff or whatever's going on. And you're just like, here, back to entertaining yourself. So
head out to the backyard to play because I just don't have time for both of you. And you may not recognize that that's what's happening, but that's truly what's happening because
100%.
Puppies they take a lot of work, and you're trying to give training session time to each of them. Well, then you've got one puppy sitting on the sidelines waiting their turn, and probably not that patiently, while you're trying to work with the other puppy. And then after you get through one session with puppy one, then you're going to do session 2 with puppy 2, or the next session with puppy 2. And your patience isn't going to be at the same point either. So that's not fair to the second puppy, that you're tired from work. Then you just maybe had a frustrating session with puppy 1, and then you're trying to start fresh with puppy 2. There's not very many people out there that can truly have enough composure and be able to have enough headspace to say, I'm taking a step back. Puppy 2 is getting my complete focus and attention, and we're starting fresh. And what just happened with puppy 1 is done and over with. It's going to affect you. It really is. And then it's going to affect your second puppy's training session.
So you've got the puppies are going to take way too much time to adequately give them each enough time for a training standpoint. So they're back to the first thing that we said is wrong, which is entertaining themselves. So now we move beyond entertaining value and training time, and we move into the next thing, which is going to probably end up being comparisons.
Yep.
It gets very, 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 very easy to make comparisons. Dog A doing everything right, excelling, ready to hunt.
Clean in their crate, quiet in their crate, trains really easily, going through all the steps, just click, click, click.
Whatever those things are, puppy A, the best. Puppy B, constantly into everything, messy,
noisy,
slow to develop, doing all the things wrong. And maybe not all the things, but there will be a level of comparison. And then what we see the most is the dog that's doing well gets the time. The dog that's not kind of gets backburnered a little bit, if you will.
And then that gap becomes even bigger.
Yeah, exponentially bigger. And it's the same thing with the exponentially more dominant and submissive. All of these things get multiplied
when you have littermates.
Yeah, because of the fact that they're littermates. So,
and it's so much easier to compare those dogs when you're truly raising them at the exact same time.
Yep.
Whereas if you get puppy A, and let's even say 6 months later, which is a pretty close age gap, but still you're not comparing sessions and puppies and everything side by side. You've had some time to maybe forget the mistakes that puppy 1 made and vice versa. So it's not that black and white comparison right next to each other.
Absolutely. And, it's one of those things that you may have dogs that they're all individuals. So you may have a dog that's doing all the things at 5-6 months old, super early to develop, awesome pup. And then you have maybe your next dog comes along and it takes till they're 8 to 10 months to really excel, but they're going to turn it on. It's there. It just takes a smidge longer to come around. And when you're comparing those dogs side by side, it gets really easy. And we see this a lot that, I took dog A out hunting and dog B's not ready. Well, then that gets, then when you're out there hunting, because not all of us get to hunt all the time. So you want to put the dog on the ground that's doing well.
And that's going to find you the birds and do all the things.
Yeah. And then dog B, again, gets left in the truck or gets dropped down in this one little field because you're like, well, they need time to run today. And those things happen. And then that just continues to
compound the problem
more and more and more and more, to where if dog B, that poor little puppy, had just been in a different environment where it was given all of the time and attention, it could be, by the time it's matured, to the same level as dog A. But it's just the fact of the matter is, yeah, you can do it. Yes, we have done it, excuse me, but it is not easy.
And keep in mind, we have done it and we didn't enjoy the process. We don't
want to do it. We
don't condone the process. And we're professionals that this is what we do every day.
My sole job is to work with puppies and
we don't go to another job from 9 to 5 and then squeeze in dog training on the weekends and evenings. This is what we do all day long. So I have a lot more time to commit to those puppies, just like these ladies out there that are, doing their workout programs and selling Beachbody and all the things. If that's their only job, it's really easy to make time to work out. If it's not your only job, it is more difficult to squeeze that type of thing in.
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct, which is why professionals are good at what they do.
Because they get to commit all of their time to whatever they're good at and excelling at and being paid to do, basically.
And all of those things taken into consideration, I still do not want to raise littermates together.
No, and we are professionals, so we do raise a lot of puppies because we're always trying to better the breed, add to our breeding program. We're having dogs that are getting older and becoming retired from our program. So there's always that rotation of replacing the, older dogs with younger dogs. And it's exhausting.
Oh, 100%.
Every once in a while, we go for a pretty long stretch, 6-9 months that we don't have a puppy.
We don't have a new puppy. Yeah.
And it's like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. We can sleep in till like 6:30. And then we can take a little bit of time off from training constantly with our personal dogs because all the rest of them are finished and adults and stuff. And then it's like, oh yeah, puppy, potty training, crate training, socialization, all of the basic, clicker training, obedience work, getting them out in the field. And it's constant. And if you're not committing constant time to a puppy, you're not doing it right, which is why coming full circle, getting a litter mate is a bad idea because you can't give each of them enough time.
Such a bad idea.
Enough individual time.
All right, guys. So when you are looking at your puppies and talking to your breeders this spring and summer, let's just take this under advisement. Don't get litter mates. Get one. If you want 2 dogs, then wait a year, get another one. It's you're going to be a lot happier in the long run, I think.
Yeah, and just one last thing, which we have talked about in like a previous Yawa, I believe, is when you get 2 puppies at the exact same time, let's say, they're typically going to go out, unfortunately, at a close to the same time. So if you're spreading out your puppies at the beginning part of their life, then when they start getting old and, passing away or having to be put down because they're older,
all at the same time.
Then you don't end up losing them all at the same time. As well as if you think about the level of bond that littermates that are raised from birth to 12 years old are going to have with each other, no matter what you do, no matter how much individual time you give them, they are going to have that level of a bond. When one of them goes, it's going to be really, really hard on that other one because that's who they've known their entire life. That's who has always been there for them.
Yep. And that comes right down to that. It's too big of a bond for the individual dogs to have with each other. So I think that would be, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major reasons why not to get litter mates. Guys, I'm the guy with the pink gun.
And I'm Kat, the dog trainer.
Thanks for watching. And if this was your first time to the channel, hit that subscribe button and we will see you in the next video.